Is it dark? I don't know. Regardless, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully that's correct. Anywho, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. This looks really overexposed. I can't win. It's either I look like I'm glowing or that I look like everything's really dark. But then again, with so much compression that happens through video editing, it's no wonder that I probably look really dark. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, this is unimportant. Welcome back to the Impossible World Podcast. Holy moly! It's been like a week and a half since I've even thought about this. And the reason why that is, for those guys who are wondering, before we get in the meat and potatoes that we have to talk about to set some things straight, we have to talk about some other stuff, basically like overarching thoughts that I kind of have about this in general. But one of the things I really wanted was to have like a lot of community interaction. Like I wanted for you guys to tell me maybe what you would do, what kind of characters you thought would exist in the world, what kind of cool hybrids you could have made. So that was something I really wanted this series, and I still do. But I also am coming to the understanding of if I keep doing it like I've been doing it, which is prolonging it basically, like if I were to wait till I got every single video that I made up to this point out, which I think is like 6, we made 6 parts of this podcast. If I were to wait till all of that gets out, it would be, I think, a mess. I think, well, not basically in the downtime that would take, which would be probably like what, like a month and a quarter, to get all these out. That's time that I'm not spending thinking about this, which I find hard because my brain is constantly making worlds and constantly like seeing things and being inspired by them and trying to imply them in a way that would exist in this world, but maybe it doesn't exist in this world, but it would exist in that world, and then you start building a whole new world, and then you're leaving this world behind. So there's an issue there where like if there's too much time in between when I think about this world, I'll think about another one instead and lose this world along the way. It'll just be really spacey, I guess. Also, I gotta get out of my head about this series. Like, I want it to be perfect, and I want to register these ideas to the perfect degree, but I think that's relatively impossible, because, you know, as much as you can think about something forever, the words that you may use to describe it may not do it justice, you may feel. I think that's why people have such a hard time writing, is because you're trying to write down the words that would bring life to your creation, your idea, your world that you see, you know? So I think that's why writers struggle greatly, and they rewrite things like 50 times because they just want to get that out perfectly. They want to show you the world that they see, and sometimes that can be painfully hard. So yes, as much as I do want community interaction, and I like want to interact with you guys and hear what your ideas are, I hope you guys understand that it just may be again, maybe like this in part 7, I think we're on. I may be gauging what you guys say, because part 3 is out right now. So yeah, we're just a little delayed. Hopefully you guys are okay with that. Again, it's not ideal. It's not something that I'm like, yes, perfect delayedness. Oh, also, yeah, let's go ahead and drop the camera just a touch.
Does that work? I just noticed there's a lot of negative too much.
Alrighty. Well, hopefully, I think is it the same thing? I don't know. Regardless, let me slouch forward a little bit, although I do like to keep these in frame. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, forgive me for the bit of a messy introduction, but alas, here we are, back in the Impossible World Podcast, off to the races now. So again, just wanted to clear some of that stuff up. Basically, I wanted this to be very community interactive, but I'm losing the world that I'm creating. What I mean by that is, again, I filmed all of these podcasts in the span of like 2 days, like something crazy, just by me going like bang, 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 just getting it done incredibly quickly. The reason why is because I was so inspired. You know, having this weird like time negation, like this window of opportunity where you have to strike swiftly and fastly. It was exciting, and to also, I've never had to do this. I've never had to explain my ideas in a way that hopefully is somewhat understandable. But so yeah, that's what's down. So first of all, before we get into it, a time to see what you lovely people have been saying. Ooh, a boy Carthage has come up with a character. Okay. I came up with a character named Lucian. I have no idea how his transformation would go, because I haven't thought about it yet. Okay. Shader Kai? Genius, level, mind, magic, focused warlock, mother of God. Shader Kai? What is that? I'm a little bit confused. at least in D&D, are elves that are born, raised in a plane of reality that is basically filled with ghosts, vampires, undead, etc. Shader Kai are, in simple terms, basically elves that have taken on certain aspects of undeath. Okay, they are considered living, but they fade through things like ghosts. They don't feel fear and are unusually comfortable with death. He minds magic. He's mind reading, telekinesis, telepathy. Sorry, and he uses magic like warlocks. Got it. That's funny, Carthage. It very much seems like kind of the way we're like a subliminally trying to talk about my character. Like the main character, one of the things is because he's like a hybridization of a werewolf and a necromancer, kind of Lich King is what his thing is. He's the Lich King is like a very corruptive, dark kind of like it makes our main character's affinity dark magic, where werewolves necessarily wouldn't be that, but because they're a hybrid of one another, the werewolf gains that affinity. So that's why the werewolf is like his fur is like pitch black, and eyes are this glowing crimson, that kind of thing. Okay, so he wields a scythe and shit. Okay, you're jumping, we getting fast. We moving quickly on how he attacks. He's not physically strong, but he's dexterous as hell. So kind of seems like he's making a very clever elf person who's gonna fuck up some shit and is kind of like an undead variant. Badass. Very cool. I wonder how that would play into the whole Halloween transformation thing, though. I guess as long as you like, again, maybe he was a super D&D nerd. Just went hard into this costume. That could work. That's fair. That was on part 2, by the way. Anyways, part 3. Let's go to comments on part 3. Someone just says hello. Or hologrin is what someone said. All right. Appreciate you guys and your weirdness. Let's go to my Google Drive where I have all my notes. Because that was one of the things that I was kind of frustrated when editing. Is there were so many moments where I was just like, man, I kind of feel like I'm just stumbling, like, and I don't want that, although this is a podcast, and again, I do need to just chill out and just hang out and chat, and stop being like, oh, I need to word my creation so perfectly so people understand what I'm trying to get at and it's not just a mess. So yeah. All right. Sorry about the it's not sorry at all. I'm glad you guys are interacting and all that fun stuff, but today we are going to be starting on what I think is chapter 6. I don't know, but it's chapter 6, The Sealed Demon. Now, we have to do some busy work because but also I just want to talk your guys' ear off a little bit. So essentially, one of the things that we're about to go do is we're in the world right now. Our main character just got his necromancer gauntlet, or his Lich King gauntlet, whatever you want to call it, his summoner gauntlet. Bang. And now they're on to go get Crowley's, but also Crowley had his time to shine as well. He basically got enough skills to where he could actually start having some, enough fight to fight back, modifying his shotgun to make it actually a badass thing, and etc, etc, etc. So they both had their kind of moment to shine. And now they're on their way to go get Crowley's, except it's very, very far away, so it's going to be a long drive. Also, Crowley kind of shapeshift a shitty vehicle into his ideal perfect vehicle and all that stuff. Now, while Crowley and our main character are both driving very dangerously, bobbing and weaving through traffic on their way to the destination that is Crowley's next relic, the Sealed Demon. And this is where I paused it last time. Now, the reason why is because I did such a spectacularly terrible job about explaining to you guys what I'm trying to go for and what we're going to be hitting eventually. So yes, one of the things that I did such a spectacularly terrible job on is showcasing Grimm's kind of weird talent that for me gives him like a power advantage outside of his just love for monsters and being a hybrid in general. But it's the idea of, well, what if there was a person who was born into a world where there was these kind of skill, I don't know, like a skill tree, like a bunch of choices that you could choose from. What if there happened to be a person that was really, really good about choosing his path? Like I could totally see a lot of people who become this new weird thing. Maybe they'd get the pretty impressive step of getting a relic in the first place, and they're able to see what they can invest in, what they can become, right? Well, I think a lot of them would just be like, damage, whatever. Whereas I think it would be a tremendous power advantage if someone had the understanding of how to build something. So you're not just looking at the first skill in the skill tree, you're looking at the entire skills overall and seeing what could feed into what and what could power up other things. So that's something that we're trying to hit on. So basically, in the car, Crowley basically asks our main character Grimm why the hell he hasn't been spending his points. Like, well, what's going on? And our main character basically tells him that he has incredible anxiety for what he wants to pick, and he goes into it basically saying that, well, with my necromancer kind of Lich King skill tree, I have 2 arcs. I could either choose to summon hordes or choose to have more specific least strong monsters, but he could summon fewer, but they would be basically denser, stronger, more smarter, that kind of thing. So that's one of the issues he has. He also has another issue with basically having, he doesn't know if he wants to build his character a specific way, but it will make him weak at the beginning. So it's one of those things where you invest in this skill, it's pretty trash, but if you're able to stick with it and you're able to survive and spend another point in its next attribute, then boom, you're able to have a really strong skill. But you have to push past its basic form and to get its evolved form, and then you're like, holy shit, this is 1,000 times better than the one that was strong in the beginning, right? So you're like taking something weaker first, which has the potential to become insanely strong. So that is the kind of idea here as well, and that's, I think I titled it like Soul Ball or something like that. Basically, the idea is that it's a shitty little orb that can apply a debuff. But later down the skill tree, it can apply corruption, basically winning over random people who it hits, but also applying an intenser debuff and even being able to apply elemental damage, basically giving him an insane ranged ability that also has a bunch of different potential. Also, that was the other thing, is that I would like our main character to, like the path of the Horde in his Lich King thing, or the path of the Overlord, that route, the Overlord route is way deeper and has way more like branching skills. So he also thinks, okay, well, this one's a little more complex, and I bet there would be a reason why that is the case. And he likes builds, so we would go for the more complex ones so that they can feed into each other better. So anyways, he explains that to Crowley. And then he goes into Crowley's kit, and this is my way of kind of not only showing like that the main character is kind of selfless in his idea of Crowley, like he's trying to power him up at all possible cost, when Crowley kind of is a little more cynical and it's kind of like, well, is this guy gonna like dip out? Like, is my friend gonna like do I want to build him up so that he can attack me or anything like that? He's a little more jaded about the world. But our main character is just jovial and a goofball who just wants to help people, basically. Piece them back together is kind of the overarching theme. So anyways, they're driving and Crowley opens up his skills and tells him all of his skills. So then our main character jumps in and says, okay, well, you should get this skill. The reason why is because this skill is amazing to get early on. Also, think of the implications that this skill could have. So the idea is that the main character is showing Crowley and the audience, if we're writing a novel or a TV show, how insane he thinks about something. So for one skill, he goes into meticulous detail of like scenarios that could have happened to make this skill shine, and he goes through every single thing he possibly can, like it being like, okay, well, you could use this skill. I think in the last time we gave the example of it's kind of like the underdog skill in the beginning of MMOs, but if it's like when you get a kill or when you loot any resource, there's a chance for you to have rare materials in that chest. And you're like, okay, well, it's not like I really need rare materials right now. I need damaging to stay alive, right? But it's one of those things that you purchase early on, and then when you get to end game, you're like, oh, I have enough to craft this because I just was accruing these random resources the whole time. So it's kind of an underlooked skill, but anyone who's played a lot of these games just immediately picks up on, because they know how powerful it is, because it's one of those things that could give you so much peace of mind later on. Anyways, so that's something that I gave the example of, and that's why our main character goes into the meticulous detail of how good this skill could potentially be. Now, I wanted to stop right here. The reason why is because essentially I want to explain just some things here or there, the things that we'll see and develop more later in the story. But one of the things that I kind of want to get at is Crowley is going to be the plan, the guy who can basically, and this is kind of the way we're scaling it, Crowley is the person that can come up with a plan to crush anybody. Like, if you just give him enough time, he's able to come up with a strategy. He can make any god tumble down. But our main character, because of his weird obsession with skill trees and monsters and all these things, he's good about improvising on the spot. Whereas Crowley will make a plan to, break someone's Achilles heel and topple whatever, the bad guy. But our main character is great about thinking about instances where this skill or this thing could happen, and then this could pay off and save him because of that. So if you think about it, this creates like an undefeatable combo where, yes, there's a person who's really good at making a plan and like executing that plan flawlessly, but with all plans, there's an aura of corruption, of something that could happen out of nowhere that you couldn't prepare for, which is where our main character comes in and how he's able to basically patch any kind of hiccup along the way, making the dream team, basically, making them incredibly strong together, which is something I kind of want to be just like the happen chance of the world. But one of the things that also happens is, whilst Crowley and Grimm are both driving to their destination and they're talking about their skills, Crowley purchases the skill that Grimm talked about, the one that allows him to break down stuff, and whenever he breaks down stuff with his cane, he has a chance of getting rare resources. So at this point, Crowley's kind of bought into, okay, well, you really, like, you explained why this is good and the potential that it had. Like, are you willing to look at more? And then our main character lights up, because our main character, when it's not his skill tree, is fucking all in. He loves it. I like that because this is a thing I'm disposing on to the character, because I really like builds and skills and all these things, and working in conjunction and thinking about builds that people wouldn't entirely think of, stuff like that, and that being this kind of weird thing. But there's also one big glaring issue, is I really, really didn't like the way Crowley was happening. Because Crowley right now is not a strategy kind of person. The way that I built him, I started to really dislike, and that's why I wanted to stop when I did the last part, is because we were getting into this and I didn't really develop his skills at all. All I knew is that I really didn't like Crowley running around like a military man with a shotgun and just blitzing people. But that's the kind of point, is I wanted to show, and we're about to showcase Crowley really not liking that way of fighting, more so in this sealed demon chapter. But the idea is that I really don't like the way Crowley's going right now. I don't like the fact that he's becoming this like soldier class, because that's not what I want him to be. I want him to be this badass who's sitting on top of a mountain with his cane, grinning while things are falling perfectly into place, like a badass demon plucking strings and winning wars. That's what I want Crowley to be at the end game. So we have to come to some realizations here, and we have to do some tidy work. So essentially, Crowley opens up to Grimm and says, "Okay, well, what am I lacking? Like, do you think I'm going down the right skill tree or the right path?" And then Crowley lists off a bunch of his skills, and then Grimm says, "No. The reason why is because the things that you're building for it doesn't make sense." So yes, well, he corrects himself and says, well, no, it's not that it doesn't make sense. It's just that you're patching leaks that aren't there. For instance, you're going down, I think we talked about it, he's going down the path of like making super weapons, like these dense, powerful weapons. And being able to modify them and make them even better. So he's like, that's good. I like the way you're going down this pathway, but you don't have, there hasn't been a thing way back when you had a little baby flamethrower nuking down tree monsters. Damage is not your problem. Damage has never been your issue, but yet you're building for more damage. So he kind of talks to him in a nice way and kind of says, well, you're building for the wrong thing. You're investing in a problem that you don't have. So it doesn't make sense. And he says, and this is something that I also want to dawn on Crowley, how observant our main character is, and how much he seems kind of jovial and dopey, but he's very observant about this specific kind of genre, about builds and what you could be lacking, and seeing your weaknesses and then being able to tell you how to fix them specifically. So of course he tells Crowley that the problem you have right now is that your demon doesn't give you any sort of physical attribute besides a little bit tougher and a little bit and some basic healing. But you don't have this ungodly strength. Like, you still get exhausted when you run. You still get, you still have a limitation on how much you can hold and how much strength you have. And because you went down the builder's class, it doesn't look like you have any way to patch that. So he says, I would look for a skill that helps you patch that. A skill that basically takes away the negative, which is your lack of strength, your lack of endurance, all of these things. And then, what do you call it? Crowley goes into his skill and it's like, okay, that makes sense. That's my weakness. My weakness is that I don't have, as much as I can summon forth a giant gun and wreck the world, I can't reload it that fast. I can't, if it's heavy as shit, I can't wield it really. I'd have to give it to you. So there's all these issues that Grimm explains to him, and then Crowley kind of takes at face value and then starts delving into his skills, all while driving like a maniac, and Grimm's sitting there like, fuck, shit, I hate driving with you. This is the worst feeling ever. So anyways, Crowley gets a minute, looks through his skills, comes back, and he says, well, there's this one skill that looks kind of okay, and it's basically, and this is where I want Crowley to be when it comes to combat. We'll talk about this in a bit, but anyways, Crowley basically opens up to Grimm and says, I found this skill, I seen it in passing, I'm not sure if it's that good, and he talks about it's called, everybody needs a helping hand. And I think if I were to give more detail, I would like for all the demon skills to kind of be weirdly like corruptive / 80s, like 90s info commercial. Like, everybody needs a helping hand with demon hands. But anyways, so he goes into it and he says, okay, well, this is basically a branching skill, but it's the first skill basically is every time you reload, there's a chance that these astral demon hands will quickly replace your magazine. The more points you invest in this skill, the quicker the reload, and the better the chance of it happening. So Grimm's like, oh, okay, that's perfect. And then Crowley says, wait, but there's some more stuff. That's not the thing that is that good, he thinks. But then he realizes that maybe that is the case. So that's why he's giving it some more look, is because Grimm told him that, like, you're slow at reloading and you're physically not great. You can't, like, there's no skills in your skill tree that gives you any sort of physical advantage that can help you wield these things. So anyways, he goes into the skill next. And the next skill in this thread is helping hands. So I don't know what what did we call this one? The previous skill? I don't know. Helpful reload. We could call it that. It doesn't matter. Regardless, the next skill is called helping hands. And this to me totally puts Crowley where I want him to be. Essentially, the more points you invest in this, the more hands, these demonic hands that like cut off right around the middle of your wrist, they're these spectral demon hands. And the reason why I love that so much is because this patch is a problem that I had, but also it facilitates a look for Crowley that I love. And I was struggling so badly to find a power system that would fit Crowley and make him feel strong, but still not like jeopardize his style and his like serenity in combat kind of thing, and his cocky nature. I wanted something that could kind of apply that. So I ended up watching this Netflix series. It's called something Wrangler, I think. It's okay. It has a few amazing ideas, but then the plot is kind of iffy for me. But anyways, it's called like Maggie the Wrangler or something. Anyways, regardless, in the show they have a really cool idea, which is basically anything that you can think of, and this is done in other media, like a Green Lantern, but basically anything you can think of, this black dark matter will basically shape. And there's this cool scene of the main character in this show standing with like a general's outfit with two giant Gatling guns beside him, just floating beside him while they just destroy and wreck whatever's in front of him. And he also, there's moments where he summons forth this like giant iron glove that just fucking obliterates people. Oh, my chest, sorry. And I don't know, I thought it was so amazing, but also I thought this could totally be like melted down to its base components and helped Crowley. I don't like the idea of Crowley being able to summon anything with dark matter, but he is a craftsman, so he can technically summon forth a a shotgun, because he can create it from nothing not from nothing, he's just creating it from his resource pool, that kind of thing. But I really like the idea of, again, Crowley being able to keep his hands on his cane while these like demon hands are just kind of floating, holding his weaponry, annihilating him that way. So then our main character lights up as soon as he hears the name of this skill, and then he's like, wait, is this what I think it is? And again, our main character, I want our main character to basically give off the vibe that he's on to something before Crowley is when it comes to this. And Crowley persists about like, okay, well, why would this be that strong? And then the main character goes into it and says, well, it's because it completely, this is a golden goose. This is like the best thing for you. Your weakness is perfectly patches your weaknesses. Like your weaknesses are that you basically, you have limited strength, you have limited speed. From what I garner, these things are basically just hands, like these demonic hands that could wield a pistol, wield anything. They'll listen to your commands, kind of like summons. This is perfect. Like this is great. You can make 2 Tommy guns or two assault rifles and have them aim and shoot. And the more hands you attain, the better the recoil reduction you could have on wielding any weapon that you create. So he goes into the meticulous detail about how this is so good, and then Crowley's like, okay, now that makes sense. And then he invests in the first skill because he doesn't have enough points to get all the way up to there. But this is perfect because where we're gonna go next, this will allow Crowley to basically be forced to have to be physically active and like head everything up, because again, after Crowley finds out that pattern, he buys 2 skills. He buys the one with the quick reload, and then he has a little bit of skill points left over to basically buy holster, which is you're able to holster any weapon and pull it out of nothing. Which is good just because, again, this basically makes Crowley be able to like create a gun, throw it into the ether, and then it just come back in an instant. But it also allows his little demon hands to pick up any gun from nothing and then wield it. But he's not there yet. So this is going to basically put Crowley in a corner to where he's running around exhausted in the next dungeon encounter or whatever. And then for him to realize, okay, yeah, I'm totally not. This is not for me. Like I'm tired of being exhausted. This is too much. Grim, I can't believe you do this. This is fucking awful. And then Grim also realizing that like as much as he appreciates the general role, he wants to be the general that leads his army into battle, not the one that's safely behind everybody. So they both have kind of this understanding of what's about to happen. But anyways, we need to pick up the pace. That's what I wanted for Crowley. And I think this fits his character way more because, again, he's just this badass general who's just sitting back while all of these demon hands are holding, maybe he's creating something and needs a helping hand. His demon hands can help him with that, or he gives them both his SMGs and they start wrecking the world. That kind of stuff. But this also plays with, and this is where we're going to get into like super future sight, just so I can get this out there so I don't forget about it. Basically, when it comes to Crowley, again, I want him, we're going to get into certain like mechanics for demons and what they kind of feed off of in a bit. But yeah, Crowley has other skills that basically allow him to, like I said, like tap a string of fate. That would have a giant outcome. So again, that'd be like him waving his hand and like making your brakes not work if you're going through an intersection and just causing chaos that way. Or when you go to launch a strike with your sword, he could make your muscle cramp in like a specific way that makes you contort and maybe miss at the very last second. So that's Crowley's kind of job, where he's in the background. Plucking the strings of fate so that our main character and him can make it out alive and or on top. So that's the idea of Crowley. Now, one of the things that I want to mention about our main character, because we do have to do some tidy work on that, because I want to tell you guys and just spoil some stuff that I want to talk about, because I'm afraid I'll forget it. Oh, right. So when our main character is looking in his skills, and then he comes to the understanding with Crowley of, okay, well, would you be willing to pick up the slack so that I could, get this skill that's not that great right now, but will be better later on? Will you be able to make up like the difference because you're already going down your damage skill, and all you need really is this one skill that's a couple above it, and you'd be smooth sailing basically? And Crowley says, yes, do that, perfect. So then they kind of synergize with each other, and this will be something that they keep doing. Again, stronger together kind of mentality. But anyways, also like really affirming that these people are hard locked together. Like they feel like nothing can tear them down whilst they're partners together, right? Anyways, one of the things that our main character does is he says, okay, great, I'm going to both get that soul perk and go down the path of the Overlord. But when he spends points in the path of the Overlord, he noticed 2 things. One of the things is that he noticed, even though he spent points in like dedicating himself to this arc, he cannot purchase the next skill. And basically there's some, text, let's say, there's some text that pops up that says, you do not meet the requirements to purchase said skill. skill. So then he goes and talks to Crowley. He's like, I don't know what this is about. Crowley says, yeah, I got some stuff like that too. I don't know what it doesn't tell me what I need. And basically, this is where we're going to get into spoiler range. Our main characters don't know this, and this is something to play into an overarching thing, so let's talk about it. Essentially, some of your skills, some of your skill trees are locked by a relic. So, our main character, especially if he's going down the path of the Overlord, where he's specifically buffing up his summons, not just summoning hordes, but instead it's summoning few but strong few. He's basically needs something called, and this is something that I just like the name of it, it's called a soul cairn. So it's a relic that is a soul cairn. It's this giant circular orb. At least that's the way I see it. But anyways, this giant circular orb is basically a forge. The same way as Crowley needs certain tools to finish, craft whatever resources, our main character needs this to guide souls, or strong souls, into reality. Now, one of the other things, but that's something. But one of the other things is that our main character also noticed that gauntlet that he got created 2 new skills beside the Overlord path. And there's these 2 orbs, and it's basically, I don't know, if we're going through like this weird Skyrim or like web design, like a tree roots or like a spider's web kind of branching further out, and each little dot is the skill, whatever it is. Regardless, there's his gauntlet, he can see in his skill tree, but his gauntlet is holding 2 orbs, and those 2 orbs are 2 skills, and one of those skills is power intensity and power strength. Now this is something that I'm pulling from Warframe. For those guys who do not know, in Warframe, it's a game that basically has to do with like summons and skills and characters and all this stuff that I'm sure you guys know about it. But anyways, one of the characters that I love to pieces is called Atlas, and he basically can summon forth these rock golems. Now, if you have a really, really low power strength, he will actually summon these tiny, tiny little like baby golems. There's like a very crude rock people, basically. But if you have a very, very high power strength, you will create these towering, like fucking giant creatures, golems. So for me, I was like, okay, I really like this idea. And then, a series that I love to pieces called Reincarnated as a Slime has come out. That does this exactly, and I feel I feel like I'm happy. I love the show so much, but basically this hints at something that I wanted to do, and I've done in many stories I've told myself in the past. But basically, I really, really like that idea. So right now, our main character cannot progress through his Overlord skill tree, and he's already told himself, or he's already said that he's going down it, so that other skill tree is faded away. But he realizes that he can't progress anymore. So our character is hard-locked until he gets this relic, which it'll be a while till he gets. But he's still using his the golems, or sorry, the necromancer's mummies that were trapped in the gauntlet, that were like a gift of this relic as well. So he's still accruing this kind of skill, this XP from using summons. So he has, after fighting a lot, he has a ton of skill points in this skill. So the only thing that he can buy is power strength and power intensity. So that's something that I really, really want to mess with. Is that again, our main character's like, I really like summoning, but I'm missing this thing. I got a bunch of these skill points. Fuck it, I'll put it into power intensity. And we could say that this relic is actually stronger than you might think. Meaning that it has like 25 points that you could spend into power strength. And our main character, let's say he gets halfway there, or like really like puts a ton of points into it just because there's nothing else to fucking put points into. And this plays into something that again Reincarnated as a Slime does, which is whenever in Reincarnated as a Slime is a bit weird, but basically whenever the main character encounters a beast, and that beast fights for him, that beast evolves and changes into something incredibly badass. And this is something that I love so much in that show. I'm like, again, I love certain things, certain traits in TV, media, whatever it is. One of those traits is I love our main characters leveling up, like getting a new sword, getting a new like dark form that they just power up in their like in Goku level 10 or whatever it is, Super Saiyan 10, doesn't matter. I like shit like that a lot. But I also love this idea of because in Reincarnated as Slime, I'm always so excited to see what the friendly monster that's his enemy at the moment will become, and I just can't wait. And they always like they have certain rules about some of the monster stuff, which is like the monsters almost always get prettier and just like quietly strong, so they don't like look monstrous. They get more like beautiful and then also attain enormous strength. Which I like that kind of way of playing off of that, so things don't become just more hulking and gross. They become more dense and strong, not just like giant and you know, crazy. Yeah. But so that's how we got that result, is we're hiding Grimm's potential basically, so that he is forced to invest in intensity and strength, so that when he eventually does get this soul Kern, essentially that'll be a whole arc in itself that I want to do. And it's funny because I don't know if I want to talk about it, but sure. Don't be judging me. Okay, well it's mostly fine. It's just the scenario that I happened to be in was a weird one. Basically, one of the things that I love doing, and I would highly suggest for if there's anyone who's like a creative kind of person who wants to build stories or just anything like this, who likes to build worlds in their heads, I would highly suggest playing this kind of mini game that I play with myself a lot whenever I go onto this place called Art Station, I believe it's called. And it's basically just a monolith of fan art and counts that are just, they specialize in just uploading their amazing and brilliant art. But one of the things that I oftentimes found was you have no idea where you might find some sort of beautiful, a fantastic piece of art that will kindle some crazy idea of creation in your minds. So one of the things that I do to get out of my comfort zone and not just watch the same thing is I open up ArtStation, I go to the front page, and I click an image that I like, and then I go to their page so I can see their whole portfolio, all the art that they've uploaded, and I can open up as many tabs as I want to check out that art. But I'm always anchored to that profile. So then you can either do one of two things. You can either go to what they have liked or who they are subscribed to. And that's how you'll move. So you're always on a singular tab moving through. And what this will have you do is sometimes you'll be backed up against a wall and you'll go to this dude's profile who is following nobody, and it's like one image, and it's like an image that's kind of crudely drawn, and you're like, shit, okay. But then you go down a rabbit hole of images that you would never even kind of give the time of day, but they may have just one idea that sets off your minds. So your boy was sitting there doing this minigame. I've done it thousands of times. Also, I have a folder with like probably 1,000 images of awesome fan art that I've collected because I just do that. So anyways, I was on ArtStation. I was doing this. I mainly go through the like page. I don't go through subscriber pages just so you can see images and go that way. So I always, I'm only allowed to move, like advance, by going to what this person who made the art that I like, what he likes, going and just continuing from that point. So finding, oh, there's a new artist and he liked that image, I like that image too, let's go to that, down that road. And then you just keep jumping like that. So along me doing this, I found this individual, and this is kind of an example that I would like to give, where like you would never know where you could find an amazing idea. So anyways, I was clicking through and I found this dude who he kind of specializes in what looks like in like kind of pinups a slight bit, like kind of like anime females, and like with kind of interesting takes, but more on like the lewd side, more of like a lot of skin showing, a lot of bikinis, that kind of thing. No judgment, just saying. But anyways, I was scrolling down and I was like, okay, well I need to jump from somewhere. So I ended up seeing one of these images and I was like, okay, so I clicked on the image and it was of this very cute, like a little panda weirdo girl who had like pandas around her. Anyways, I was like, okay, it's just like a pinup thing, sure. But in seeing that image, my eyes dropped and I was like, oh wait, that's actually super fucking creative. And the dude, I don't know why, maybe it's from an existing intellectual property or TV show, I don't know, but this person has this padlock, like this giant metal brace all right around her ankle, and it's like there's like this black vein kind of creeping up her leg slightly, just very slightly, and to me I was like, okay, what would that be? What kind of all right. My brain set off as soon as I seen it. I was like, okay, well, wait, is this like a futuristic world where maybe this, like, these hybrids of beast and person have come together, and this is the back, or the negative of that, is you're dipping into this kind of power of hybridization, but you at a cost, and maybe the more you use this ferocious power, the more it infects your body. And I was like, okay, who would have thought you would have found such a weird, obscure idea that could branch off in 1,000 different directions from like a cute pinup thing, you know? Like, I was like, oh, this is great. So anyways, that was one of the instances where I was surprised at where I found inspiration and where my imagination got set off. But anyways, this one's where you guys may be judging me, okay? So one of the things that I was doing is it was Halloween time, I think. Still, like, we were making the series, I think, 2 weeks before Halloween. So it's still Halloween time. And on ArtStation, there was a ton of people who were making like Halloween specific kind of art. So of course, I'm just clicking through, again, only traveling forward through what other people have liked, and seeing their interests and going forward. And I seen one that was pretty tame. It was like, I think it was like this, it's like a person that people draw a lot. She has like neon on her face, like neon face paint and like a cap or something. But she was drawing like an up close face kind of view, I think. Anyways, I clicked on the image. I thought, great, this dude like has some really stylistic art. Awesome. So then I went to his whole profile. I'm like, okay, this is the person that I'm going to jump off from now. But when I opened up his profile, I noticed that his banner had a Patreon link. And I was like, oh. And then just all of it was mature content, which means in ArtStation, you have to go click and hit like, I am 18, I can see this image, click, and then it'll show you. And in ArtStation doesn't allow like too graphic of things. It's usually like, there's a nipple in here. Like, oh god, but it doesn't show pornography or anything like that, which is why the Patreon link is always there. So it's like, you want to go see more, go to the Patreon, which, you know, do you do whatever you're gonna do. But I ended up seeing this one that I was just like, oh my god, no. No. But someone ludified Chucky. And I was like, no, my nightmare. I'm not sure of how much I can show. I think I could show most of it. But yeah, someone ludified Chucky, and I was like, this is too much. But it did kindle something that I wanted to do. So essentially, one of the things that I wanted our main character to do way in the future when he gets his soul cured is the idea is that he'll basically be pulled into this spirit kind of whatever realm. And whilst he's in that realm, certain voices will call out to him, and basically the idea is that he's hunting for a strong spirit. But these spirits could have been thrown away. They could have been corrupted, whatever it may be. So anyways, he gets pulled every now and again to a spirit, and it just anchors him basically in their own personal hell, maybe their own personal kind of trauma that they need to deal with in order to kind of be able to fight again, or believe in life and in fighting for something again. So the idea that I had as soon as I seen this is I was like, okay, and this fits really well with what I want to do. So I thought about it, and I thought, okay, well, what if our main character is, you know, in this astral plane or whatever, he gets pulled in, and he ends up, waking up, and he's in this old creepy ass house. And then he hears this voice calling out to him, like behind him or something. So he turns around and he sees this freakishly terrifying, and it may just be me, but I'm not sure if you guys were ever at your grandma's house and she has like those porcelain dolls that are just nightmare fuel. Yeah, I just really hated them. They're terrifying to me. So I would love for our main character, who's usually like accepting and loving, to be like, oh fuck no. Oh please. But then after moving through this haunted looking house and this encounter and all these things, and people trying to kill him in this kind of like doll that's like decrepit and like cracked in the face and whatnot, kind of helps him through this encounter. So then eventually he realizes, like, okay, well, as much as you're terrifying, you're not a bad person, right? So then eventually they have that moment, and there's that turning point where, like, he's a team now. He believes in this creepy little doll, and he's moving through his encounter with her, and she's showing whatever skills she could have. But anyways, one of the things I would like to introduce to the audience is, okay, you know, they've done it. He's moved past this kind of weird prejudice with this kind of creepy looking doll. and this doll is very kind and whatnot. And then for him to basically have made the deal, made the contract, whatever, so that she is now his summon. And then he leaves the portal. He leaves like the Soul Cairn and gets thrown out of it. By the way, yes, Soul Cairn is from Skyrim. That's where I got it. I always felt like the name didn't suit the Soul Cairn, but this suits it more. Anyways, regardless, he pops out of the thing, and then our main character snaps his fingers and summons forth his new summon. And yeah, because our main character invested so highly in power strength, that it could be whatever you want. It could be, I don't think I'll go as lewd as Weird Chucky, but I think or we could go a different route. We could go a comedy route. We could do all of these things throughout the course of him getting his summons. But we could go through, like, instead of it being like this creepy porcelain doll, it's just this dude who's yoked in a weird dress or something, but just shredded, like, I will protect you. Or we could go down a different route and it just be like a what do you call it? You know, the character from what is it, Bloodborne, where she's like a mannequin, except like super sweet and soft voice and soft spoken and stuff like that, but she's all grown up. We could do the other route and make her creepy, maybe a little more creepy, like super gangly arms and shit, who knows. But I do want there to be that twist, so that every single time he goes into the Soul Cairn to get a new spirit or whatever, a soul, people are in the back of their head, they're like, okay, this character looks like this now, but I wonder what he'll look like in the future. And I kind of like the idea that Slime Rancher has done, which is they'll always look better, maybe not like more terrifying. Like you won't make them more monstrous and ferocious and gross looking. I like the idea that they're like, universally, most of the time they get more pretty, and they get more powerful. I guess, well, definitely more powerful. But yeah, that kind of whole route, because I like that idea too of like this. You're basically finding spirits that have lost faith in the world, and you're pulling them back from the brink, so that not only is it kind of poetic that not only do they look better and more healthy, and maybe they looked cracked and they had scars, but when they are reborn, they basically have no scars and look way better and have way more strength because you help piece them back together, and you are in a weird way gaining that. But there's also a mechanical reason for why that is the case. So yeah, again, who would have thought that would have sparked creation like that? Anyways, this is a podcast, baby. I expected to do that in 30 minutes. It's been an hour. Yeah, who's to say that there can't be a podcast that's like an hour and a half? All right, come at me. Please don't. Be nice. There was a lot here. But I also wanted to tell you guys, like, that there is still more to go. But this, like, when our main character gets the Soul Cairn and all those things, and it kind of creates a new arc, that's after Hell Night is ended and then some. Just a little bit of then some. Like 3 days after Hell Night's ended, some events will happen that will shape the world and the true jumping off point. But for right now, we are still stuck in this weird limbo and still have to basically do some busy work. So anyways, that's the stuff that I want to talk about and get off my chest, which is basically, I don't like the way Crowley was fighting. I thought it going against his character, so I found a way to make it a part of his character, as well as a part of a way to show that our main character has a weird kind of advantage in the world, but also for him to have helped Crowley without a second thought. And then this is in the back of Crowley's mind, and these are also subliminal things that I don't think I would outright tell the viewer, but just the idea of, like, there's a reason why they take solace and they know they're stronger together, is because they know that the other one will help them without even thinking, but anyways, the other thing is I wanted to explain where our character will go and why the soul thing is a bit nerfed right now, is because there is a point. The reason why the soul is nerfed, or the Lich King is slightly nerfed when it comes to summonings, is because he's missing a relic that he needs greatly, that he will not get on Hell Knight, and I needed a way for his summons to just be absurdly powerful out of nowhere and evolve and change because of the arc that I really like, but that was already executed in shows like Slime Rancher. But Slime Rancher kind of, I will say, I never really have thought of, like, whenever your person will evolve and become something different from what you perceive, for it to be pretty and more kind and gentle. Whereas I like the way the Slime Rancher handled those evolutions, you know what I mean? More tempered, more smart, stuff like that. Like that's the stuff that comes with evolving or power strength. It's not just absurd power. It's shaped in this specific way. But anyways, talk about the inspiration you got from the fan art Lewd Chucky and Panda. I did. I did do that, me. You're welcome. Yeah, and now it says, and now time for Crowley. So eventually they reach their destination. After again, Crowley has invested a tiny bit into certain skills. So now he's basically able to wield pretty good weapons. He has, I think, 2 or 1 S. I think I said 2. I don't know. Regardless, he has 2 SMGs, 2 little badass Uzis that have red highlights in them and whatnot, and it's nice black matte paint. And our main character has a shotgun, and our main character in Crowley, while striving, has come to the conclusion of, okay, Crowley, you're going to be taking points, and I'm going to be kind of watching your back doing this, kind of learning from the necromancer, still about just learning from him, basically, like not being so like right in the fight, learning how to command his army, or his undead mummies, basically. So anyways, they arrive at this destination, and this destination is an abandoned cave. All right, might change it, but it's a cave. It's a cave system. All right. Anyways, it kind of works a little bit, but anyways. So to do what we did beforehand, which I kind of like, is the bullet points that we need to hit. Okay, things we need to hit. We need to hit Crowley, kicking ass, taking names, giving our viewers a good understanding of Crowley's strength, and basically showing that he's on the same level as our main character. Cool. Second bullet we need to hit. We need to also shine little light on our main character being more aware of the battlefield. So in my mind, there's a situation where Crowley's about to get hurt, but our main character comes in and helps him, basically. And Crowley very much notices it. Second thing is I need Crowley to hate fighting the way that he's fighting, which is basically being the thing that's holding all the pressure, you know, like it's he doesn't like that. It's too much. He's exhausted. It doesn't work for him. The third thing is that we need to get them to the end of the encounter where there is this creepy ass music box, like the dun 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 dun, like that weird thing, that as at the end of the encounter. Yes. So, and and they need to have met the sealed demon, and for me to have told you guys why that's relevant. Okay, so because we've spent so much time on like just going through, like giving things up, giving you guys some reassurance for where we're gonna go and ideas that I kind of had, just not to bait them out for too long. We're gonna move a little quicker, hopefully. I always say that, and then we move not even a little bit quicker, so I don't know. I don't know anything. Moving on. So as they push into the cave, they notice that the brand new enemy that they're fighting is, of course, skeletons. Bone, skinny skeletons, white as hell, maybe a little bit of garb. Again, I'm very much going off of classic monster things, because I don't want these relics to be impossible to beat. I just want them to be enough to where you would have to accept the things that you are now and then go through that encounter. Because the person that has made these relics is trying to help people. He's not trying to just be an a-hole about it. It's the demigod person, anyways, regardless. So yeah, these skeletons are wielding crudish, but a little bit better than the zombies in the one area. Swords, spears, and this time around, bows. So they're a little bit ranged. Anyways, at this point, Crowley, I want to be going ham. So again, Crowley is face the fact that he's like, all right, I'm the tip of the spear now, baby. Let's do this. Let's showcase my power. Blah, all that stuff. So then he bursts in. Again, they're moving through a cave. It's a little bit tighter quarters, but it opens up into a bigger cave. So they enter. They see these skeletons. They approach them. Crowley just blitzes them down like nothing. This is also because, guess what? A bullet is way harder than bone. So it's just like death immediately. I don't think I'll play with the idea of the skeletons like piecing themselves back together, because that maybe later with like a little bit more of a powerful skeleton we could mess with the idea of them being an enigma in general. Like, how are you moving? You don't have any flesh in your joints. It's magic. You could throw your head and it'd still be chomping at me, that kind of thing. Regardless. So he's blitzing stuff down, and of course Grim is taking the stance of the support now. So he of course summons his goddamn people through his left gauntlet. Again, his left gauntlet is basically showing him his necromancer, or his Lich King power, or whatever, his commander power. Anyways, he summons forth these badass, what is it called, mummies, just start wrecking face. But again, he's not in the face of the enemy as much. He's again waiting, letting Crowley kind of take them in, and he's patching the kind of holes that's appearing. So again, Crowley's bursting down everyone, reloading, constantly doing that, taking cover, reloading, that kind of stuff. And then when he's reloading, Grimm will command his mummies to push in and give him a breathing room. So they're kind of pinging off each other really nicely. And at this point, I want to kind of showcase Crowley's insane intellect. Like the idea that he's a planner and he has an idea or a plan for everything. So again, they're kind of getting more far away from each other. Crowley banks around a corner with a ton of skeletons right on his heels, and instead of shooting them, he aims at the ceiling where there is a bunch of spiky rock things that happen in caves. You know what I'm talking about, like the little spike rocks. He shoots them, they break and just completely flatten like a whole dozen of them. A really quick, clean move. But at this point, Crowley was running away from them. He starts to kind of catch his breath, and he's like, Jesus Christ, like this is becoming a pain in the ass. Like he's starting to get tired. And then he stops and looks at our main character, while our main character just commanding his mummies just like ever so slightly, as well as every now and again using a shotgun to take something out or take somebody out. But he looks at our main character like, Jesus Christ, like you're on the money. Like I am so not made for this. Like I'm so not made to be this guy who's running around everywhere. So anyways, basically they keep fighting, and one of the things that's happening is Crowley, every now and again, Crowley will be shooting, and then automatically, really quickly, boom, a weird demon hand will yank out his clip and throw another one in pretty fast. And then over the course of fighting, Grimm notices that it's getting faster, so Crowley keeps hammering points into this skill so that he can get to the next one. So anyways, hordes are still coming in. They're pushing through this encounter, this skeleton encounter. But anyways, as hordes are coming in, there's a specific skeleton archer that just cranked back a arrow. And then as soon as he goes to aim at him, he hears click. And unfortunately, the chance for his demon hand to pull out, to basically give him a quick reload, is not the case. So Crowley is sitting there like shit, as he's quickly trying to like get his magazine out. But then as the archer's just about to flick an arrow basically at Crowley, our main character throws his very shitty like soul ball, which offsets, because that's also one of its slight powers, is it weakens the enemy or enhances the damage that your next attack will deal. But it also has impact, so our main character aims for his bow, which offsets it a little bit, and he misses. But Crowley very much seen this. Crowley was like, I'm about to be shot with an arrow, shit, and then boom, the shitty soul just kind of pushes him away, and he misses his arrow, and then Crowley quickly reloads and shoots him. But he notices as he shoots him and his bullets contact this like green plasma, I guess you'd call it, that impacted on this skeleton's chest. It explodes almost, essentially giving an understanding of why this is weakening. It's not just like you throw something on somebody and then they have like this kind of aura around them that's like, by the way, he's weak. No, it's like this ooze that is basically like nitroglycerin, like a liquid nitrogen, that as soon as you contact it with the surface, it explodes. So it's not your traditional weaken. But anyways, this is also just a callback at the skills and their conversations with having it, and Grimm kind of being like, this one's not that strong, but used in the right way, it very much can be. And in this instance where he needed to put damage on someone fast, and maybe he was out of ammunition as well, boom, this is the perfect thing to just laser beam and help Crowley out in this instance. Also, it keeps Grimm in the fight and kind of, aware. So yes, I like that quite a bit. But anyways, again, we haven't done this in a while. But again, the reason why I want to move along is because we were an hour in, and I don't want to go too hard into stuff. But anyways, this is something that I would love for you guys to use your imagination in, because for me, just to quickly list off some things, I'm seeing Crowley come into his own right now. Like, yes, he's exhausted, and throughout the entire encounter, as they push deeper and deeper into this cave, he slowly starts to become more sweaty, gross, and there's this banter between him and Grimm where, like, Crowley is acknowledging the fact that, like, this sucks. This is so not for me. And Crowley's again using, he doesn't fight the same way Grimm does. Grimm is like very much in your face, gonna tear you down. Whereas Crowley is a lot more methodical, thinks of a plan and executes it flawlessly. But he is still limited by things, same way as our main character is by his werewolf burst. So yeah, but with when they're in those limitations, the other one helps them. So again, in moments where he has to reload because that stupid skill didn't proc, our main character jumps in, shoots him, or commands his mummies to anchor to Crowley, and one stay near him, keeping him safe as he's slowly picking them off with a shotgun, trying to take in things, trying to call out things as they're moving through this encounter. But one of the things that I really wanted to do is eventually, and this is Crowley's just fucking annoyed at this point. He's super, super tired. He finally, he sees his ring twinkle, and this indicates that you've leveled up. And Crowley's like, yes! And he finally purchases rank 1. And I don't want to say how many ranks because I don't know how like we should handle power skilling. But let's just say you could put a lot of points into these demon helping hands. So anyways, he puts 1 point in it finally. So then he throws his gun as he's taking cover behind this giant rock as undead skeletons are approaching him. He says, finally, and our main character looks over at Crowley. He throws up his gun in the air, and this demon hand just grabs it and just laser beams them all. So Crowley basically got access to 2 sets of hands. Let's say that just because at the base level, that's what you need to reload. But you can get more. Also, you can increase the side buffs that these hands give you. So one of the side buffs is in greater strength, whilst like these demon hands can possess. The other thing is better damage output, just like fun MMO things where it kind of, if you keep investing this thing, it'll become more than just having a bunch of hands. It'll become buffs, be able to wield greater things, that kind of thing. Like with patching a loophole in your build, which is the fact that you're not gaining any sort of physical attributes because of the prefix that Crowley is. He's a craftsman, so he doesn't get any sort of physical attributes. But he did get this, which very much falls in line with, if you're a craftsman, you probably need a helping hand to hold a screw in place, to hold a nail in place, whatever you want. But this is utilized in a very much more smarter way. So at this point, yeah, again, Crowley's like, finally he purchases his skill, he throws his Uzi, maybe his 2 Uzis up in the air, and boom, these 2 demon hands that I see as like this red gauntlet, kind of steel gauntlet, and as you get to the end of the wrist, it kind of tapers off into more of a light, transparent fade, I guess. Anyways, these things just mow down what's right in front of him, and then Crowley, from underneath the rock, you just see a thumbs up from Crowley, like, yes, I finally can stop breaking my goddamn back, running around and shit. I'm so not made for this. This is stupid. So anyways, at this point, I want the tide of battle to have significantly changed. To where at this point, Crowley is just walking around with his cane, breathing, and eventually he walks up to Grimm and he's just like, This is way better. This is where I should be, because his gauntlets have a pretty good wiggle room for being, like, they're still anchored to him, but they can basically float around a good distance and get some to drop on certain things. He has one of his Uzis in his hand, and the other one's flying around just shooting people while he's behind cover, or in safety with his old man cane, and he's kind of hunched over like, I'm sick of this. I'm tired. My bones hurt. This is stupid. And then he eventually comes up to Grimm, and he's like, hey, you were on the money. Like, you knew exactly what skill I needed. Thank you. Good stuff. Well, he didn't say thank you, but he says good stuff. And then Grimm is just quiet, and he's just like, I hate this. Like, as much as I appreciate the lessons that, because throughout this entire way, let's say that the Lich King has been like telling him how to fight, how to do certain things, but he also comes to a realization of, I hate this. I hate being like being far away like this. Like, I feel like when you were about to get with that arrow, it was annoying. And I was all the way back here safe, and you were in the shit. It just doesn't feel good. He wants to be in the fight where he could matter, the most he possibly can, where he can be Atlas holding the world atop his shoulders. He likes that. So with Crowley kind of hunched over, a broken man, just like, oh, I'm so tired, and Grimm kind of sitting there like this is awful. I don't know how you do this. They kind of understand, like, okay, well, we messed around with this for for a little bit. Let's go back to the way things were. So they do. So at this point, they go back, and at this point, I would love for the tide of battle to, and I've said this a bunch, but sorry, this is where I would want it to truly sync up, where Crowley is now way better in the hands of the support / the person that's able to make a plan, execute it, whilst keeping the other person alive and keeping him in the side part of his brain in doing that. Basically, they switch positions and they fucking kill it. Great. So that's the idea, is that they both kind of tested what the other one's life was, and they were like, fuck that, I'm used to mine, and I like mine more, and then they switched. And at this point, Grimm was always in a place where he could have probably still been the head of the spear. It's just he wanted to take lessons from the thing. But let's say Grimm is close, not quite there, but close to getting to get it, because I think I want them to end Hell Knight at level 10 if there is some sort of level scaling, so they get some perks. But I think I would like Grimm to probably have it, like, gotten past the yucky part of his soul thing, which is basically just like a weaken, but then later you can apply onto this like soul burst, summoning like six souls in one, lowering the cost of summoning souls, lowering all this stuff. So basically he like, again, it's one of those skills that starts off pretty mundane and trash, but will just annihilate if you see the potential within it and unlock it in an appropriate way, which of course our main character is. But let's say because our main character was kind of playing back, he didn't evolve as much, so he kind of is not at the place where he can get the third edition of that skill and make it good. Ah, yes. So finally they mowed down everything. Some plot points happened here or there, facilitated by things we were talked about beforehand. Anyways, they reach the end of the cave, and there's this, of course, this light spiral, like a little crack in the cave ceiling to where there's this light beaming down, and it's beaming down upon this very creepy music box, where as Crowley and them start to approach it, it starts to play. But dun 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 dun. And at this point, I want our main character to be like, yuck, like to have stepped back, and then Crowley like, come on, man, it's what is a clown gonna pop up? So he takes a step forward, and Crowley starts making his way to it because it's his relic anyway. So anyways, as he approaches, and it says, and eventually it pops, and out jumps this old, rough-looking, plush snake teddy bear. And it flies out, and Crowley quickly catches it. And as he catches it, the final tune is and then you hear like a snake's hiss as it pops and then flings at Crowley, and Crowley quickly grabs this thing coming at him. And alas, it is a very old, kind of dirty looking, very crudely made plush teddy bear, but it fits in the size of your hand, kind of like something you'd see on like a backpack, like this weird kind of like teddy bear thing, except it has like button eyes, and it's in the shape of a snake. So anyways, Crowley, as soon as he hears that hiss and he sees that it's a snake, Grimm noticed that Crowley's like, okay, like he starts to back off a little bit. So again, we're kind of playing with the idea of as soon as you get your relic, you have an understanding of how it works. A light understanding, but an understanding nevertheless. So anyways, he sees a snake, and Grimm and him look at each other, and then he looks back and he squeaks it. And it has a little squeak in it. So anyways, he squeaks it, and as soon as he squeaks it, this astral door opens right in front of them. And as it appears, it settles, and then this door opens. These two giant doors that have like insignias of snake engraved into them. But anyways, as this door creaks, you hear this like 1,000 hisses, slight echo and creepy. And Crowley drops the plush, says, nope, I'm out of here, fuck this, and completely goes the other way. And what we're dealing with here, boys, is the kind of demon, tactician, confident Crowley hates him some motherfucking snakes, okay? And this is a trope that's existed in a lot of media, but I always like it. I think it's cute. Anyways, regardless, yes, Crowley fucking hates snakes. So as Crowley literally, I want it to be that Crowley fucking leaves, like turns around, just starts walking. And our main character is kind of like, okay, well, we just came all this way. There's no way I'm doing this. But of course, this is all in his head as Crowley's walking away, and I mean committed. He's fucking walking. He's not like, he hasn't looked back. He's just committed. Our main character, the weirdo psychopath, walks straight forward and goes through the door. And as he enters this door by himself for the most part, he noticed that it is like, and this is what I see. I see it as this very large tent. And as he's making his way into the tent, he notices that there's like 1,000 threads interlocking to the ceiling. A bunch of fabric all over the place. And as he's moving through this pretty big tent, he gets to the center, and he starts hearing these whispers all around him, like, "You're not who summoned me. You're not this or that." And as this voice is kind of juggling around him, and again, one of the things I want to talk about. Well, first of all, a bunch of weird dialogue happens where again there's like this snake voice, this female snake voice whispering things like, "You're not who summoned me. Who are you? You seem to have great strength, but nevertheless, what makes you think you could face me?" All these things. But anyways, eventually, our main character turns around and he sees this badass, crazy looking demon human snake hybrid, I guess. And there's a reason why this is the case, why we made it this way. But we'll get into that for a second. But anyways, one of the reasons why, let's get into our main character's mind, Grim. They're getting to a place, and I want us to kind of subliminally talk about this, but they're getting to a place where they keep seeing victory, but more so, they keep seeing victory within each other as well. And with that victory comes understanding of how to fight, win, that kind of stuff. So it's not that they're arrogant or that the main character is a lunatic. It's just that they've been succeeding because of each other to some extent, a lot of extent, so that they have this understanding of this is what we're capable of. Because one of the things I hate in shows, in TV shows and anime and everything, is that the main character like topples a big bad villain, like this monstrous thing, and then when they see the next villain, they're like, "Oh my god, I'm terrified." Or they see the next villain and then he smacks them in the face and then they're like, "Okay, now I'm scared." Where like I don't think that'd be real. You know, I feel like if you understood combat, you understood what it would be like in general to be afraid, you'd be able to ride those waves more gentler because you've experienced before, because you have more confidence in yourself, all these things. So I kind of want to play with that idea of like, our main character is not just a little wuss who's terrified because he's been through the shit. He knows how it feels. He knows that if he needs to right now, he could summon his mummies and at the very least run his ass out of here. Like, he has an understanding. And let's say as he sees this giant thing, he's in the back of his head, he's thinking that. He's thinking, okay, I could summon my mummies. They could give you something to focus on, and I could leave if this is a big bad thing. But anyways, this giant snake hybrid thing, again, I see it as kind of like, I don't know if you've ever seen like a snake hybrid in anything. It's like the snake from the waist down, female from the waist up, but has demon attributes like giant fucking horns and piercing red eyes. Sure, let's do all that. But anyways, as this thing gets taller and taller because it's a snake, it's just towering over Grim, and she chuckles and says, "You're either crazy or stupid for not being afraid of me." Because again, Grim is not afraid. Because again, maybe he should be, but he's not, because at the very least he has a plan, and also he doesn't feel a negative intent. Like the werewolf and the lich would both tell him if you need to leave now, because this is not something that we can deal with. As much as they're like prideful, they're not that prideful, I think. Like again, at the base level, they want to survive. So to me, this is them doing that. This is like this nice moment between this snake person as with Grim, like showing that he's not afraid. But anyways, you guys may be like, "Well, Grim, what's even happening here? What are you doing?" Anyways, we'll get to it. From the corner, Crowley peeks over the corner and's like, "Come on." He's terrified, but he wants to get the fuck out of here. He sees it, and let's say that he's trying to signal to our main character, "Let's get the fuck out of here." And our main character looks to the left and sees him, and then boom, he noticed that person that was in front of him, the snake lady, is gone. And then Crowley looks to his right, and there she is. But I don't know what the dialogue would be, and I feel like it would be weird for me to try to get into it now, but basically, hates him. She's pissed. She's like, "You're the weak maggot bastard who summoned me. This is the worst." And then cries like, "Please, please, we'll leave right now." All these kind of things. And what we're getting at here, ladies and gentlemen, is because let me slow down. What we are getting at is that I thought it would be very, very funny, and I enjoy this mechanical thing in general, that because of Crowley's shitty spec, because of Crowley's idea of him being this craftsman, this maker, right? Craftsman. He found himself a very, very powerful familiar. Which kind of goes with the whole demon nature anyway, or the demon thing, them having familiars. I think that would be legit. But one of the things I always hate in media is that your familiar is a glorified pet, or like nuisance, basically. It's like, hey, you get an owl or a muskrat, and that's it. I can send letters to other people. Great. Or, hey, you have a familiar. It's a humanoid person, like a bat and a human being mixed together, sure, but they hide their batness and they can basically be a slave or whatever for you. It's brutal. But I always feel like it's not done with power. Like, why can't a familiar be strong? So I was like, okay, well, what if we did that? What if we had a very, very strong, badass familiar, like this badass snake huntress that was forged in the depths of hell? But because she was summoned by Crowley, which is a demon who has this specific variant of craftsman, that her whole huntress thing got converted to being a cloth weaver, like an armor weaver, a cloth weaver. This is also a way for me to kind of make up for Crowley's specialization, where like Crowley is specializing in weaponry, guns, and stuff like that. This could be another way of kind of giving Crowley the ability to tap into armor, clothing, powers. Yeah, so it just basically it was a way to equalize their stuff, so that this way, she could make up for Crowley's lacking, but also there to be a reason why that is the case, because she was training to be this like powerful summon, basically, this kind of like weaseling around the world's familiar kind of summon. But because that got busted, she's instead basically just jumped up the clothed skill tree. Or not jumped up, but like basically whatever Crowley will invest with his weapons, she'll match with armor and stuff, because of the way things have kind of laid out. Or because of the fact that she was supposed to be this powerful fighter, and instead all that power got pushed down a different route, but it's the same amount of force and power. So for me, this was a fun way of doing that, because it's my way of being like, hey, a familiar in this world can be fucking strong, but this is also my way of shitting on Crowley, but also giving him a way for like, this is a powerful relic for Crowley. This is basically giving him another means to make armor and make stuff like that. Also, I think it'd be hilarious for this demon who was forged in hell and fought to become this badass, fucking despises the person that summoned her because he was a craftsman, which destroyed her whole shtick. so she would have been like a very overpowered summon, but because Crowley happened to be the one that found the relic, it just went all to shit. But it did it really? No, but it's just that thing. So anyways, we're gonna kind of speed by this stuff, but basically there's a couple things I want to hit on. We might hit on these things in the next part, which I think we definitely will. But basically, I would like our main character to basically be this force of that, like, Crowley hates snakes, so he hates her, or just wants to get away from her. She perceives that as being rude, rightfully so, but also she hates that this is her summoner, the person that like basically screwed her over because of his weird speciality. But the main character is the friends to both of them, basically. So he keeps mom and dad from fighting too much. But also, I want to get to a point where they basically get a new change of clothes, because I want to have like shine a light on the fact that Crowley's sweaty and gross, and Grimm is just a fucking mess. Like, because he's been activating certain things and he's been in the fray, his clothing is shredded. He just looks like a mess. And yeah, for there to be a moment in that where she's basically like, all right, I'll make you guys some basic clothes because I don't have that much of an understanding because you guys are level 10 as well. Become level 20 and I'll get a better understanding. But anyways, so she makes Crowley his like a nice suit and then just wants to leave without even saying thank you or anything like that. She's frustrated. The main character kind of she makes him like a nice classy outfit as well, and the main character's like, I'm sorry, but this is not for me, I'm sorry. And then she says, okay, well fine, I'll do this, and she gives him like a really basic looking outfit, but he's like, this is perfect, this is amazing, and he lights up. And this kind of being that way of being like, okay, well, like what she sees is like, okay, well, maybe this isn't the worst, you know, like maybe I make clothes for a living now, but this is kind of enjoyable too, like someone who enjoyed what I created and enjoyed and was liked what I made, and stuff like that. So it'd be like this again. Crowley is very much this arrogant force to her, but the main character to be this other force, which is, you know, it sucks that you're in this situation, but you can find joy in this new world that you find yourself in as well. So anyways, that's stuff that we'll probably hit on in the next part, as well as is this hatred born from this demon who was summoned by a stupid variant of a demon. so he's all, the power level is so fucked. But anyways, that was something that I thought would be fun to mess around with. But again, this also has the implication of making Crowley have a pretty decent relic in comparison. So then the next time we'll go over this weird clothing debacle that we're talking about, as well as getting Grimm his final relic, and then we have Crowley kind of to get another quick relic. But anyways, we got to get Grimm his werewolf gauntlet, which helps with his power with his werewolf, his dark werewolf. Anyways, we're lame-o talking about this, but I love it. I can't get enough. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Hope you guys have been enjoying it. Again, let me know what you guys think. If you guys would change anything, what you would you do differently, any of that, let me know. Thank you so much for your time. Subscribe button right here, as well as 2 videos to my far right. Thank you again, and goodbye.